Hello, folks. Welcome to Unity of Sarasota Christmas Eve service. You're in for a treat, and what I'd like to do is introduce Laurel and Phil, who are actually going to be doing the service today. And obviously, I'm not Reverend Susie. So Reverend Susie, if you've read the email or the blast, actually tested positive for COVID. So we've all been safely distancing and wearing masks and all that good sort of thing. And she's feeling fairly well. She doesn't feel bad. She had just a slight fever, and she's doing okay. I spoke with her this afternoon, and she really regrets not being able to do this service. She put a lot of her heart into this, trying to put it together. We have a new addition to the sanctuary, a fireplace, and it's going to just give you that fireside chat atmosphere. We're going to be doing a poem by Henry Van Dyke. And he was born in 1852 in Germantown, Pennsylvania, if any of you know where that is. He attended Princeton University, became a minister, and was an attaché with President Wilson, professor of English, and writer of many, many poems. And tonight we will hear the story of the otherwise man. It's a story of hope, faith, and love. So I'd like you just to take a moment, take a deep breath, settle yourself down, sense the Spirit of God moving in and around you. The healing forces of God moving in and around you and through you. We hold our community, our country, our church in that knowing that the Spirit of God is here with us, that the light of God, born anew in us, is celebrated this day. And we simply say, thank God within and all around. And I give you Laurel and Phil.
First and foremost, thank you, Susie, for all the work you put into tonight's service. Your heart and soul is in it, and hopefully we will represent it the way you wanted it to be. You are here with us in spirit, always. So thank you. A poem based on Henry Van Dyke's The Story of the Other Wise Man. Once, years ago, lived a truly good man. This is the story of Artaban. He lived in a house a long way away, and one day 3 visitors came to stay.
We 3 kings of Orient are, bearing gifts to traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. Oh, star of wonders, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. dear star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light.
Melchior, Caspar, and Balthazar were looking for a particular star. Well, they talked and read and studied the sky, then talked some more and played I Spy. We spy with our little eyes for something that fills us with hope and surprise. A star so splendid, a star so bright, it shimmers and dazzles and lights up the night. The star, cried Balthazar, the very thing that will lead us to Jesus, the baby king. This star is the one, they shouted, and so we'll say our goodbyes, for we have to go.
Said the night wind to the little lamb, do you see what I see? Way up in the sky, little lamb, do you see what I see? A star, dancing in the night, with a tail as big as a kite, with a tail as big as a kite. Said the night wind to the little lamb, do you see what I see? Way up in the sky, little lamb, do you see what I see? A star, dancing in the night, with a tail as big as a kite, with a tail as big as a kite.
Let me come with you, Artaban pleaded. Friends, don't tell me I'm not really needed. I must come along. Oh, please, can't you see? This journey's extremely important to me. Caspar looked worried. He shook his head. All right, we'll meet you. And to his friends, he said, young Artie's a dreamer. I know you agree. He'll be late. He'll dawdle. We'll lose him. You'll see. The wise men stood up and gave a small bow. We'll meet you in the temple in 3 days from now. Artie was busy with a lot to prepare. He'd need lots of things for his journey there. Food, clothes, and water, the list grew and grew, with a camel, a tent, and a present or two. I'll go to the market and sell everything to buy a nice present that's fit for a king. He packed his belongings, whatever would sell, bought a sapphire, a ruby, and a pearl as well. At last he was ready, and the very next day he loaded his camel and went on his way. For 2 days he traveled. He was doing just fine. He had an appointment and was making good time. The 3rd day, the going began to get tough. The camel was tiring, and Artie felt rough. But time marches on. There was no time to sleep, not with a vital engagement to keep. Just then came a sound, a moan and a groan. It can't be, said Artaban. Surely I am alone. But he got off his camel and went to explore and found a poor man who was battered and sore. Help me, please help me, the injured man said. I've been beaten and robbed and left here for dead. I'll be late if I help him, Artie felt sad. They'll go off without me. But that's just too bad. So he washed the man's wounds and bandaged his head. Then, I'll take you to safety, Artaban said. They went to a village, even though darkness was falling, and at people's houses, the two men went calling. This man has been beaten, is not feeling good, so I'll ask you to care for him here, if you would. You've got to be joking. Help? I will not. Food and doctors cost money, which I haven't got. And right then and there, without hesitation, Artie paid up for the man's medication. Now seeing his money, the girl's eyes opened wide, and she nodded her head and took him inside. Oh, poor Artaban, he knows he'll be late, and he also knows that the wise men won't wait. The secrets of life will be found on this quest, so I'll go on my own, but tonight I must rest.
O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel that mourns in lonely exile here, until the Son of God appear. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. O come, O wisdom from on high, who ordered all things far and wide, to us the path of knowledge show, and cause us in her ways to go. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. O come, desire of nations mine, all people in one heart and mind, and filled the envy, strife, quarrel cease, and fill the world with heaven's peace. Rejoice, rejoice, well shall come to thee.
Early next morning, he went on his way, journeying through the fierce heat of the day. Then, when both traveler and camel cold, Artie slept again on his quest, traveling till at last the stars stood still in the sky, and what should he hear but a baby cry? He laughed out loud and began to sing, Could he have found the new baby king?
What child is this who lay to rest? Mother's lap is sleeping, whom angels greet with anthem sweet, while shepherds watch their keeping. This is Christ the King, whose shepherds guard, and angels sing. Haste, haste to bring him, Lord, the babe, the Son of Mary.
He jumped off his camel and went to explore. This is the child I've been looking for. But a young woman stood with a tear-stained face. The soldiers are searching everyone's place. A baby's been born who they say will be great, and King Herod is jealous and crazy with hate. It's some kind of prophecy that's being fulfilled, and so he's ordered that all baby boys should be killed. At my knock, you must have been filled with alarm, but I'm not a soldier, and I mean you no harm. Just then, a very loud knock on the door. Open up, you know what we're looking for. Sure enough, the baby began to wail. The parents and Audubon turned very pale. At the door stood a soldier, ferocious and bold. King Herod's the boss, I just do what I'm told. With that he tried to push Artie aside. Let me pass, I have orders to kill the child. Audubon knew he must help if he could, so he took out the ruby, which flashed red as blood. Will you promise to go and leave us alone if in exchange I give you this stone? Well, the soldier couldn't believe his eyes. Never before had he seen such a prize. This was a fortune and his lucky day. So he accepted the ruby and went on his way. Thank you, oh thank you, the young mother cried. Without your kindness, my child would have died. Your baby's life is more precious to me than any gemstone could possibly be. And now it is time for me to go. But where I am going, I don't really know. The meaning of life, I still cannot say, and 2 of my presents I've given away.
I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play. Mild and sweet their songs repeat, peace on earth, goodwill to men, and the bells are ringing, peace on earth, like a choir singing, peace on earth. In my heart I hear them, peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. But the bells are ringing, he doth shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then ringing, singing on its way, world revolves from night to day. A chime, a voice, a chant sublime, of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And the bells they're ringing, peace on earth, like a choir they're singing, peace on earth, with their hearts we'll hear them, peace on earth, goodwill to men. Do you hear the bells they're ringing? Peace on earth, like the angels singing, peace on earth, open up your heart and hear them, peace on earth, goodwill to men. Peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth, goodwill to men.
Through hot summer sun and cold winter rains, Artaban traveled across lonely plains. He searched towns and villages everywhere, journeyed to Egypt when he heard he was there. He still had one present that he wouldn't let go, the beautiful pearl, as white as the snow. Years rolled on, heart and body were sore. Where was the king he was searching for? Then 30 years later, on Passover Day, to Jerusalem city he made his way.
In the bleak midwinter, frosty winds made moan. Earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow on snow had fallen, snow on snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long and long ago. Angels and archangels may have gathered there, cherubim and seraphim rising in the air. Heaven cannot hold him, nor can earth sustain. Heaven and earth shall fall away when he comes to reign. What then can I give him, empty as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring the lamb. If I were a wise man, I would know my part. What then can I give him? I must give my heart.
There he found people selling and buying, and Audubon noticed a young woman crying. To his horror, he saw that her hands were tied, while "Who'll buy this slave?" a cruel man cried. "How much do you want for her?" Audubon called. He felt shocked to the core, completely appalled. "You will buy the girl?" the wicked man jeered. "Slaves cost money, I'll tell you," he sneered. Audubon sighed. He was filled with despair. He checked in his belt. There was no money there. What could he do? He must save the girl. And then he remembered he still had the pearl. The wicked man's eyes were gleaming with greed. A girl for a pearl, a bargain indeed. Audubon sighed. He was feeling bereft. Now that he had given the pearl, he had no presents left. "Thank you," the girl said, "for setting me free, but a pearl is worth a lot more than me." "No," Audubon said, "I must disagree. More important than pearls is your right to be free." From down the street then, an angry noise came. Men were brandishing sticks and calling a name. In the midst of the mob, a poor man stood. He was wearing a crown and was covered in blood. "He's the king of the Jews," somebody said, "so he's wearing a crown of thorns on his head." "No," Audubon gasped, crying out loud. "It can't be," he moaned, stumbling into the crowd. "It's Jesus of Nazareth," an old woman said, and Audubon stood there, just nodding his head. "He's the one," he said. "In my heart, I know. I started my search for him ages ago." "Now they're going to kill him," Audubon groaned, "and I've given everything away that I owned." "Tell me," the old woman said, "please do." So he told her the story as we're telling you. She stood still for a while, then said, "Listen to me. You've discovered the meaning of life, can't you see? What is a sapphire's glittering wealth compared to the gift of a dying man's health? What greater present can anyone give than that of a new baby's right to live? And what greater donation could there ever be than the chance that you gave the young girl to be free? Audubon, your gifts have set you apart, the gifts of a kind and a loving heart."
Spirit has taught us to love one another. Its law is love, and its gospel is peace. Chains shall we break, for all now in grateful chorus rise, we let all within us praise his holy time. Fall on your knees and pray with peaceful voices, O night divine, O night when peace was born, O night divine, O night divine. So, Laurel, what's the takeaway on this story about Artaban?
Well, Phil, I will tell you. This other wise man saw the same signs in the heavens as the first three wise men, and he too set out to find the child Jesus, carrying his gifts of a sapphire, a ruby, and a pearl. But the journey didn't go as planned. Audubon missed his rendezvous with the other three wise men because he stopped to help a dying man. Then, to cross the desert alone, he sold the sapphire to buy camels and supplies. He arrived late in Bethlehem after saving the life of a child by giving away the ruby. Jesus and his family had left Bethlehem before Audubon arrived. He had struggled with his choices, worried he was wrong to spend for man what was meant for God. This conflict is the impulse and the pull of love versus the expectation that faith would bring him into the kingdom of heaven. Audubon spent years giving acts of charity while continuing to search for Jesus. He gave away his last gift, the pearl, to save a girl from being sold into slavery as he entered Jerusalem for Passover. An old and ill Audubon lay dying in the street in Jerusalem when he heard the divine voice of Jesus saying, "Take possession of the kingdom prepared for you. As you have done for the least of my brothers and sisters, you have done for me." Audubon's gifts had indeed been received and accepted, and he realized the beautiful resolution of his conflict between faith and love. The impulse to love is the fulfillment of faith.
It's really amazing. Audubon's story is our story. Like Audubon, we seek Jesus and heaven within, and we seek to do good with our lives. First of all, our highest reward calls for sacrifice and patience and endurance and goodwill. Audubon found that his greatest reward, after much struggle and disappointment, he found it because he stayed true to his ideal with persistence and nurtured a desire to do good in all circumstances. This is an amazing story of hope and urges us to look at any aspect of life where we've lost hope. Choose to hope even when everything seems lost. Have the courage to endure. Secondly, it seems that when things don't go our way, when we struggle and we feel lost and we endure hardships and delays, when the goal seems out of reach, this story reminds us that nothing is lost in spirit. We may have journeyed farther than we realize. Every stumbling block may actually be a valuable stepping stone. At the end of our journey, we will likely see all the miracles that were disguised as hardships. To see them now is a miracle of faith. Artaban's story inspires faith in us. Lastly, the greatest gifts that Artaban gave, it seems to us, were his acts of charity. Giving without measure, giving repeatedly, giving even though it cost him dearly. Christmas is about giving, about how we continue the circulation of good by sharing what we have. Perhaps this Christmas we ask ourselves, how can we give others our time and our resources and our talent, our listening, our presence, just our presence, or some small gesture to let people know that we care? Our greatest gift is love. Faith, hope, and love. Christmas is about these three gifts. Here at Unity, we are a beacon of light and love by daring to hope, by choosing faith, and by committing to love one another. In giving these gifts, we recognize and honor the birth of Christ consciousness within each and every one of us. On December 24, a night very much like tonight, the night before Christmas, in 1818, the curate of a small parish in Oblendorf, Austria, by the name of Joseph Mohr, gave a poem he had written to his friend Franz Gruber, who was also the choir master and the organist at this tiny little parish in Austria. He asked Herr Gruber to write music for his poem. Now, the organ was broken, and he had a guitar. And so he picked up the guitar, and he wrote a melody to what has become the most beloved of all Christmas carols, Silent Night. And what we would like to do tonight to celebrate Silent Night, if you have a candle anywhere in the house, and we have these candles that keep the wax from getting on the floor, but you can just pick up a candle. Laurel has one that she's lit, and I'm going to ask you, can I light mine? And if you have a candle, and you have it at home, and you can light it, and maybe you have children or a spouse or a friend, or maybe you're there by yourself, and you want to just hold up a candle as we sing Silent Night together. Everybody knows this. We don't have to have the words up. I'm going to hand my candle to Laurel. But just sing it with us, and sing it like a prayer. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin, mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heaven shepherds quake at the sight. Glory stream from heaven afar. Heavenly hosts sing hallelujah. Christ the Spirit is born. Christ the Spirit is born. Silent night, holy night, Son of God, love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face. With the dawn of redeeming grace, Jesus, joy at thy birth. Jesus, joy at thy birth. Silent night, holy night, wondrous star, lend thy light. With the angels let us sing hallelujah to our King. Christ the Spirit is born. Christ the Spirit is born. And Laurel and I say,
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year and namaste.
Namaste.